All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're looking at something absolutely fascinating, the digital ecosystem of Mars exploration. We aren't just looking at a piece of space history today, we're essentially mapping out the curiosity of the internet itself. We're going to decode how one very specific piece of digital media managed to create an entire ecosystem of viewers, algorithms, and interconnected fascinations. It's like a giant puzzle, and it's pretty incredible to see how it all fits together. So, 18,371,015. Yeah, over 18 million. That's the staggering number of times people have watched a seemingly simple animation uploaded to the Mars Digital channel well over a decade ago. Now, to put that into perspective, this isn't some viral pop music hit, right? It's not a trendy influencer stunt. It is a highly specific, highly technical animation of a Mars rover. And yet, somehow, it commands an audience that literally rivals major network television broadcasts. No way, right? But it's true.
Moving into Section 1, the 2003 Mars artifact. Let's look at this digital cornerstone.
To really wrap our heads around how massive that 18 million view count is, we first have to look at its timeline and figure out exactly where this piece came from. This animation, officially titled Mars Exploration Rover 2003, was originally created way back in 2003 for Cornell University and NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. It was then uploaded to the internet a few years later on September 27, 2011. And here we are in the present day, sitting at over 18.3 million views. Now keep in mind, this is an archival 24 frame per second animation. It features absolutely no voiceover narration, just atmospheric sound effects, yet it has completely endured and thrived.
All right, Section 2, Massive Metrics. We're analyzing the footprint of this media.
Let's look a little closer at the footprint this particular upload has left, just to understand how dedicated this audience really is. Beyond that massive 18 million view count, look at this number, 111,000. That's an impressive 111,000 individuals who have actually taken the time to officially like this purely atmospheric animation. You know, in the fast-scrolling economy of the internet, actively clicking the like button on a 14-year-old sound effects-only archival space animation, that is a massive indicator of genuine viewer appreciation and really deep engagement. Furthermore, it's abundantly clear that this specific archival piece acts as a massive magnet for space enthusiasts. The channel itself, Mars Digital, has accumulated almost 85,000 subscribers, and the upload boasts 4,700 active comments. People aren't just passively watching this thing, they're subscribing, they're discussing it, and they're forming an actual community around this foundational piece of digital space exploration. Section 3, the Rover Video Network. Let's untangle the algorithm's web.
Now, what's really fascinating about the environment surrounding this piece is the recommendation sidebar. The algorithm reveals this massive, intricately interconnected network of space content tailored specifically to the mind of this exact viewer. Here we see a super interesting contrast perfectly laid out. On one hand, the viewer is being served other massive legacy animations, like the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab's Curiosity rover animation, which sits at an unbelievable 47 million views from 14 years ago. But directly juxtaposed against that, they're being recommended much newer, narrative-driven space documentaries. Take, for example, Left 4 Dead on Mars, What Happened to NASA's Opportunity rover. That one was uploaded just 8 months ago and already has over 521,000 views.
When we look at this broader list of recommendations, we realize the viewer of our 2003 Mars artifact is clearly part of an audience that routinely consumes legacy space content in absolutely staggering numbers. I mean, just listen to these figures. The Shuttle Atlantis STS-132 launch experience has a mind-blowing 84 million views. Even a tour of the International Space Station's kitchen and bedrooms, which is literally just astronauts showing us how they eat and sleep, sits at an incredible 35 million views. And National Geographic's The Curious Life of a Mars Rover has 14 million. This is a massive, highly engaged subculture of the internet, deeply invested in the everyday mechanics and realities of space travel.
But you know, they're also actively staying current. This audience is highly engaged with very recent uploads as well. They're watching explainers like Why Returning from Mars is Impossible, Feynman's Warning, which pulled in 733,000 views in just 3 months. They're watching that Opportunity rover retrospective and deep dives like The First Water on Mars, Survival Finally Begins. So they want the history for sure, but they also absolutely crave the cutting-edge physics and the modern survival narratives of space exploration.
Section 4, Engineering and Nature, exploring those adjacent themes.
The absolutely crucial point here is that this viewer's profile isn't just limited to space.
By analyzing the recommended sidebar, we can perfectly categorize this audience's psychographic profile. Yes, obviously, they love space and rovers, but they also crave extreme nature and survival content, as well as complex engineering. The algorithm has basically calculated that a person who watches a 2003 Mars rover animation is fundamentally fascinated by humans and machines pushing the absolute limits of physical environments.
Let's break down that extreme nature and survival pillar for a second. These multi-million view recommendations show a deep fascination with the untamed physical world. We're talking 43 million views for the craziest nature videos of the decade, 10 million views watching Felix jump from the stratosphere, and actually, kind of hilariously, an incredibly specific upload with 4.8 million views titled "Building an Amazing Underground Den Deep in the Wild." Because honestly, who doesn't love watching someone dig a dirt den for millions of views? Whether it's surviving the vacuum of space, falling from the edge of the atmosphere, or carving a shelter into the dirt, this audience loves survival against the odds.
And then, of course, there's the engineering side of the brain. We see a clear, calculated transition in the recommendations. The viewer goes from admiring the intricate mechanical engineering in the insane genius of a Formula One gearbox, which has nearly 3 million views, straight to watching modern, tactical military technology in action with drone footage. It's a persistent theme of complex problem-solving through advanced mechanics and technology.
Section 5. The sci-fi boundary, pushing to the outer edges.
We've looked at the hard science and the extreme survival, but at the outer edges of this algorithmic ecosystem, reality inevitably blends right into imagination. Viewers transition incredibly easily from real, factual rover data to the purely hypothetical. We see a staggering 26 million views for a first-person simulation of a moon impact. There are 24 million views for a high-concept sci-fi short film called FTL. There's simulated Mars survival gameplay. And perhaps most amusingly, the algorithm recommends a deep dive titled "Las Vegas Can't Lower Prices Anymore, but it's empty." Now, why on earth would it recommend that? Because this viewer loves analyzing complex, isolated, and extreme systems, whether that's a multi-billion-dollar rover alone on Mars or the bizarre, empty economics of a deserted casino city in the middle of nowhere. It actually makes perfect sense.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative question. As we look at the sheer scale of this content network, literally tens of millions of views spanning across engineering, survival, and space, we have to ask ourselves, why? Why does a 24 frame per second sound effects only animation from 2003 still command millions of views today, right now, in an era where we literally have actual 4K real-life footage beamed directly from the surface of Mars? Well, perhaps it's because this classic digital artifact isn't just a simple file, it's the genesis of our modern digital curiosity. It represents the exact moment when our capability to dream about the cosmos perfectly aligned with our ability to share those dreams on a global digital stage. And it really makes you wonder, what does your own digital ecosystem say about you?